Hello and welcome to Agenda 2030 TV. I am Toyin Nkamiang John. The program gives you insight into the impact of the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, popularly known as the SDGs in Nigeria. The set of 17 goals and 169 targets of the SDGs aim to help countries end poverty and hunger, protect the planet from degradation, foster peace, and realize human rights. Remember, the fight to end the novel coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, requires all hands on deck. Join the fight by taking personal responsibility. On today's episode, we'll be focusing on issues of abuses in Nigeria and the strategic efforts of the government and stakeholders to tackle the menace. The SDGs in Goal 5, 10 and 16 seeks to address the dehumanizing act as well as ensure equality in human dealings.
As the global community seek to build a world we all want, women and girls have continued to suffer discrimination, abuse and violence in every part of the world. This stands contrary to the notion that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous and sustainable world. In the Framework for Sustainable Development, Goal 5, Target 2, provides for the elimination of all forms of violence against all women and girls in the public and private spheres, including trafficking and sexual and other types of exploitation. Similarly, Goal 16, Target 2, also demand an end to abuse, exploitation, trafficking and all forms of violence against and torture of children. It was against this backdrop the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals entered into a strategic partnership with the Nigerian Bar Association in 2017 to, amongst other things, promote rule of law and equal access to justice for all, protect and enforce rights of citizens when trampled on, address oppression, deprivation, and abuse of the underprivileged and vulnerable groups in the society. These services were to be provided to the vulnerable class on pro bono basis. One of these underprivileged and vulnerable groups to be protected by the partnership is children, who have remained victims of torture, exploitation, trafficking, abuse and violence, and sexual abuse of minors. According to UNICEF, 6 out of 10 children in Nigeria experience emotional, physical, or sexual abuse before the age of 18, with the abusers in most cases known to the child. And in recent past in Nigeria, there has been rapid increase in reported cases of child sexual abuse in the country. One of such cases is that of a 4-year-old girl sexually defiled by their 28-year-old domestic staff in 2016. The offender, Idris Ebilome, had penetrated the toddler both vaginally and anal. Although justice has finally been served after 4 years, with the accused getting concurrent 14-year prison sentences on 2-count charges of child sexual assault and defilement of a minor. The child's mother, Evangeline Iwejora, recounts how painful and devastating the experience was for her and her daughter, while also shedding light on the 4-year journey to get justice for her child, who is now 8 years old.
He met the girl as a 3-day-old baby. You watched her grow, a month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years and 3 months, and you felt she was sexually okay for you. Such things don't happen by strangers. It must be someone in your house, someone close, someone you trust, someone the children grew up every day saying good morning uncle, good morning auntie. Yeah.
Throughout the proceedings, she was mentioning Uncle Idris that was living in my father's house. Uncle Idris even demonstrated how Uncle Idris did the heinous acts on her.
The convict Idris Ebiloma, all through the case he denied. He even brought witnesses to support his denial.
Perhaps one of the biggest concerns in the fight against abuses in child molestation is the frequency of the occurrence and the torturous part sufferers are subjected to in their quest for justice.
I saw the mother of the child break down several times. I saw her give up several times. I saw the children break down. Now when I say the children, I'm talking of the child in question and the child's sibling. I saw the despair. I saw the family over the period of 4 years. Should there be systems that look into these cases such that the cases are shorter? Yes, there should. Should there be means of documenting testimonies of victims of child sexual abuse so that it is not used to burden the children as they grow? Yes, there should be. Should technology be deployed to improve how the legal system works in the interest of ensuring victim-sensitive systems? Yes, definitely. So these are gaps that need to be filled.
The mother, while talking on things that could have been better done, advised that structures, both in the medical sector and judicial system, be put in place to help ease prolonged check and trial processes for child molestation crimes.
The government can maybe have a special court for sexual-related offenses, domestic violence as well. Would have maybe made it easier for everyone because it was a long journey for me, but it was worth it.
We know that this will serve as deterrence to the would-be men out there who may want to sexually abuse even their own biological daughters or innocent children. This will serve as deterrent to them to desist from such heinous and illicit acts.
It is common knowledge that most child sexual crimes in Nigeria go unreported, either for religious or cultural reasons, fear of stigmatization, or simply for lack of faith in the justice system. Sharing their takes on this, all parties advise that keeping quiet on child abuse, especially sexual abuse, is never the right thing to do, noting that in itself is a crime against the state and humanity. But Nigeria is determined to win the war against all forms of abuse. Only recently, the justice system also celebrated another victory when it finally sentenced Yunusa Dahiru to 26 years in prison on a 5-count charge bordering on abduction, kidnapping, raping, and impregnating a teenager. The convict had abducted a 14-year-old girl, Ese Ururu, from a mother's shop at Bayelsa State in 2015, then shipped her off to Kano, where she forcibly converted her religion and was married off without her parents' consent. Ese was rescued 6 months after and was found to be 5 months pregnant with Eunice's child. According to the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals for children, their families and communities, everyone must work together to prevent violence and abuse from occurring in the first place. However, when violence or abuse occur, We must respond by ensuring the child receives the support he or she needs to recover and return to a kind and protective environment.
Hello friends, do you know that coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, is real? It has infected millions of people globally, with thousands of deaths recorded.
COVID-19 can infect anybody, old or young, rich or poor, even children like us.
Coronavirus can spread from person to person through coughing, sneezing, and touching, as well as from contaminated surfaces. But we can beat this if only we obey and observe the various government guidelines. So wash your hands regularly for at least 20 seconds or use hand sanitizer when necessary. Observe good personal and respiratory hygiene. Sneeze and cough into your bent elbow. Avoid touching your face with unclean hands. Use face masks. Maintain social distancing and avoid crowded areas. Yes, stay at home. Stay safe to stay alive.
And we will all celebrate again next time.
In preparation for the 2020 United Nations High-Level Political Forum HLPF meeting on sustainable development in New York, stakeholders in Nigeria have unanimously validated the final draft report of the Second Voluntary National Review (VNR) on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) in Nigeria. The exercise was carried out during the virtual National Validation Workshop on Nigeria's 2020 VNR report, which had about 141 participants in attendance. The participants cut across representatives from key ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs of government, United Nations system, organized private sector, civil society organizations, and non-governmental organizations. Notable among the participants were the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, the United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, Edward Callon, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, Princess Adejoke Orilope Adefulire, as host. The validated report, which will be presented at the HLPF, scheduled to hold between July 13th and 17th, 2020, is a product of extensive research and wide consultations.
To ensure an evidence-based and policy-useful report is well produced, Nigeria 2020 Voluntary National Report focused on 7 priority reporting areas of sustainable development. These are Goal 1, Goal 3, Goal 4, Goal 5, Goal 8, Goal 16 and 17 of Sustainable Development Goals. This prioritization was based on our national development priorities as embedded in the Nigeria Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ARGP, 2017 to 2020, and the 3 cardinal objectives of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, which is economy, security, and fight against corruption. Thus, the report before you was carefully framed to establish these conceptual links.
The report also aggregated useful knowledge and shared experiences generated from the broad-based participations as regional and national consultative workshops hosted virtually across key segments of the society grouped according to their levels of specialization and interest. The groups include civil society organizations and the scientific community, people with disabilities, PWDs, the organized private sector, and the donor development partners. Youths, women, and older persons were also embedded in the virtual workshop. In his keynote address, the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clement Agba, restated the commitment of government to efforts to attain the SDGs.
Interestingly, this second review exercise coincides with the period that government is preparing a medium-term national development plan, 2021 to 25, and a perspective plan, Nigeria Agenda 2050, to succeed the outgoing ERGP and the National Vision 2020, whose operations will come to an end in December 2020. It will be recalled that His Excellency the President, Muhammadu Buhari, launched the domestication of the Integrated Sustainable Development Goals simulation model at the Nigerian side event during UNGA in September 2019. We had assured the global community that Nigeria will mainstream the SDGs in her national development plans. I am pleased to inform this gathering that in line with actualizing Mr. President's promise, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning is already integrating the SDGs into the national development plans, both the medium and the long-term plans. Presently, the ministry is preparing the macroeconomic framework that will underpin the two new national development plans. In fact, the ministry is currently working with modeling experts who are combining the ISDG model and dynamic computable general equilibrium model for the preparation of the macroeconomic framework of the perspective plan Agenda 2050, while the econometric and dynamic input-output models are being employed for the development of macroeconomic framework for the medium-term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025.
The United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator Edward Callon, in his remark, congratulated Nigeria on the commitment to produce the report in the face of numerous challenges. He, however, noted that the government and people of Nigeria must not rest on their oars in the quest to deliver on the goals ahead of the 2030 Agenda target date.
We should also ensure that the spirit of the decade of action is not lost. Our focus on 2020 and beyond should be on scaling up investment in SDGs, capturing the benefits achieved, and making the adjustment necessary to remain on track in implementing the 2030 Agenda. Our success, Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, will very much depend on how we do it. I'd like to pledge, on behalf of the UN system, that we will do whatever it takes to support you, Princess Adejoke, and your team, the Ministry of Budget and Planning, and the government of Nigeria.
Questions were put and answered, after which it was time for the official validation of the report.
I will now call on Dr. Bala to lead on the voice validation, next steps, and outlook. Dr. Bala, you have the floor, please.
Is it the wish of the participants of this national validation on Nigeria's 2020 voluntary national review agree to validate this report as amended?
Validated as amended. Validated as amended.
Validated as amended. Validated as amended.
It is on record that today about 141 participants participated at the Nigeria's 2020 voluntary national review validation workshop. Have all discussed the draft final report and have validated the report as amended. On July 16/17, Nigeria will formally present its 2020 voluntary national review during the high-level segment of the HLPL. And then following that presentation to the HLPL, soft and hard copies of the 2020 Nigeria's voluntary national review will be shared widely to all stakeholders.
With the government effecting lockdown and restricting movement within the country, the attendant consequences has been a drop in the economic power of the people. To cushion this harsh effect, well-meaning individuals and organizations have been distributing palliatives to the poorest of the poor in the society in a bid to leave no one behind. In continuation of our series of impact makers in the fight against COVID-19, we will bring you the story of how the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, is making a difference. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, is one of the high-profile Nigerians taking a range of humanitarian initiatives to address various challenges facing IDPs in the country. Most recent was the step he took to cushion the effect of the lockdown and by extension the consequences of COVID-19 pandemic on the poor and vulnerable in Nigeria, especially the IDPs, when he donated food and sanitary items to the Durumi and New Kuchigoro IDP camps in Abuja. Represented by his special assistant on IDPs, Hamza Ibrahim Baba, Honorable Gbajabiamila assured that every Nigerian that has suffered the misfortune of being forced to flee their homes will be encouraged to return to productive livelihood.
There are other bills that the House of Representatives is actually pushing. There's a domestication of Kampala Convention that will protect the IDPs, that will ensure their welfare, that will ensure that they are resettled back, and all welfare, components are discussed, detailed in that bill. So the House is working very hard through my office to ensure that these IDPs are protected.
Receiving the palliatives, heads of the two camps thanked his gesture, while noting that the Speaker is the first lawmaker to remember IDPs in Abuja.
When I see these food items, I know everybody will cook food today by the grace of God. Thank you for the Speaker, because we heard from our people in the Borno, Maiduguri Day, that the Speaker visits some of the IDP camps in Maiduguri, support them with the food items, non-food items, and we heard that he went to Zamfara and Katsina.
Some of the IDPs who could not hide their joy as they gathered to welcome the Speaker's gesture called on other well-meaning Nigerians to take a cue from the Speaker's benevolence.
And get it. So this is the example he's giving to our leaders in Nigeria, so that they will take example from our honorable Femi, that if our leaders in Nigeria, they will do it like this, our honorable did it to us today, I think we don't have any problem. And even the IDPs, we cannot stay in the tents, we are looking for help, we are saying this and that every day.
The donation, which included over 300 bags of rice, cartons of edible vegetable oil, cartons of noodles, packs of sanitizers, bags of face masks, amongst other items, is intended to serve 500 households of the IDP camps. Remember, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channels on youtube.com/Fresh News TV and youtube.com/Agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch the program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/Fresh News NG and www.facebook.com/Agenda 2030 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and hashtag Agenda 2030 TV. And that has been the size of our program this week. Do keep a date with us next week as we bring you another refreshing episode. I am Tony Nkamiang John saying stay safe.